Hello, my name's Isaiah Torres. I'm a missionary. I just want to go take some time just to share a little bit about myself and the things that God has done. And I came from a background of drugs and alcohol, like many others have. And God has really done amazing things to set me free. And I want to just simply share that when God goes through and He creates us, He has a purpose for our lives. And sometimes it is us who kind of not yield to what He wants to do. And we miss on the opportunities and the greatness that He wants to do in our lives. In my life, there's so many things that could have happened. And yet in His mercy, He spared me. So many times He spared my life. I should have died. Yet He had other plans. And here I am today. And I know why I'm here. Because God has created me for His glory, to speak His word, to talk about Him and who He is, and to make Him known. And my question to you is, do you know what God has called you to be and who God has called you? I praise God for His goodness, and right now I'm just thinking, what could I say? What would God want to share in your life to help you understand that He is good? Well, I can simply start with this. What He did for us, His goodness towards us, saving us when we didn't deserve it, His grace and His love. I mean, you cannot run from what God has done. You cannot hide from His goodness. I believe every single one of us, when we look through our lives and we see the things that have happened, you can realize that God has always been there. That His hand has been present with you, leading us to this point. As I pray that many people that are listening would get to a point, and today would be a day where things would shift for you, where things would change, where His grace would abound in you. You would understand His calling and His love for you. I love God because as He went through, and I don't know how to fully describe just how I feel about God, because He's just amazing in all that He does, in all that He is. I mean, what can I say? He's merciful, He's a good Father. But I say more than that. To take someone who walked in disobedience, who walked in sin, who walked in drugs, someone that brought so much hardships and destruction to the lives of others, and then take them and call them and use them for His glory. It's hard to grasp and understand. And like I said, I don't know, countless times, and I still wonder what God saw in me and what He sees in me to call me and choose me for His work. This is the reason why I persevere. This is the reason why I seek Him and I live for Him and I love Him. Because in everything, He deserves the glory. He deserves the praise. I am just praising God. As I'm taking some time to talk right now, I want to just simply share one of the things in my life when I was growing up. I grew up in church, and I strayed away from the things of God. And this is a word that I want to share with many believers out there, that the things that you do make such a difference in the lives of people. I was in a really, really dark place, and I remember different things were going on. Things were going so hard, and I reached such a dark place in my life that I remember going through, and there was fights and wars that were going on within like the groups and the gangs and stuff. And I remember I'm going through and I'm making plans. And I'm asking myself, like, okay, if I go through, I have my guns. Then, okay, if something happens, I'm gonna go through. I have chemicals here. I will do this and this, and I would literally make plans on how I would get rid of a body and how I would get rid of my weapons, and just in the worst of places. And I remember in that time, I went and I overdosed, and I felt myself. I knew that death was coming. I began to feel like just demons coming around me, and all of a sudden I go through and I felt my life being taken and being sucked down into hell. And I remember calling out to God and saying, God, save me. And the only thing that happened from that point, I woke up in the morning like if everything was renewed and fresh. And I made promises like, God, if you save me, I will change. But even then, I did not change. But I remember in that time, I went to church and I told my dad, hey, I want to go through and I want to go to church. And I went to church and I sat in church, and I remember the pastor speaking and talking about like, oh, these people, I had long hair, my ear was pierced, my clothes is baggy, and talking, and he's like, oh, and the people with baggy pants and piercings and long hair. And I went to church looking for hope, yet all I found was judgment and condemnation. I remember that day that I left church saying, I don't want anything to do with God. If this is God, I don't want nothing to do with him. And it was a point where I was looking for change, but only drove me darker and deeper into despair. I continued doing drugs for many years after that, another 5-6 years. But I thank God that he never gives up on you. There's no way that you could have come to me and talked to me about God. If you were a Christian, I didn't want anything that you had to hear. And it was simply because there was so much hypocrisy that I had seen. This is why I always encourage people that we do all that we can to represent Christ in all that we do. Because so many like me find themselves in a place when we're bound and we're in drugs, we're not looking and be like, there's moments of soberness and you don't like your life. You hate where you are. You're bound. You're just going through it. But in the midst of that, you just continue in your path. If there was people that would have been discerning or simply attentive to the voice of God, a simple right words that they spoke, showing love, would have made a difference in my life. As things continued and life continued, I just grew worse to the point where I went and I'm at a funeral, at my grandma's funeral, and the Lord, as I'm going home, decides to go through and appear to me. And he speaks to me and he tells me, Isaiah, I want you. Just so that you understand, when we're in that life, we begin to believe the lies of the enemy. We think that we're lost, there's no hope for us. And this is me, and I knew the truth. I was raised in church. But God broke through. So he spoke to me, he's like, Isaiah, I want you. But yet I was so lost that all I did was laugh. Because all I can think of myself is like, what would God want with me? And God, he's a gentleman. He let me laugh. And then he spoke to me again. And then my heart began to beat almost out of my chest. My hairs began to rise. The Spirit of God fell upon me. And I began to speak with God. And I was like, God, you're serious. And I had a conversation with the Lord. And I said, Lord, I have tried. I've tried to stop. I've tried to change. I can't. But this is my conclusion. I told the Lord, but take me as I am. For many of us, this is what God is asking of us. He just often just needs an opportunity to show you what he wants to do. to reveal in you His purpose for your life, to let the lies break from you and the things that have been spoken from you fall, so that the truth of God can speak and tear down the things where you saw no hope. He doesn't only bring hope, He brings a future. He brings destiny. He brings purpose. For the next 30 days, the Lord showed me in dreams and visions different things in my life that I did. And it really broke me. When you're thinking you're out there, you're selling drugs, you don't understand and you don't realize the things that you're doing. For me, it was just, I'm looking for another payday. You know, the more people that do drugs, the more money that I'll make. And I did not know the lives that I destroyed along the way. So night after night, God would go through, and I'll give an example. One of them was a young lady. She came from a Christian upbringing. She goes to college. In the midst there's going through and hanging out with people. We would often, sometimes we would go to a college party because we would take our weed and our coke and go through and just sell. And sometimes like we'd go through, here, try this and do that. And what began as small ended up as an addiction, and it affected the course where she was at. And it showed me afterwards that it just kind of broke things down in a way where her studies were not going well, things were not going well, her relationship with her family and everything was not going well. It was like a spiral going down. So different people, different times, God is showing me. And about a month into it, I was like, okay, Lord God, I'll give my life to you. And it was then I go through and I chose to commit my life to God. And I didn't just tell the Lord, okay, I serve you. I came with the Lord and I spoke and I said, Lord, I am going to stop drinking. I will never again drink, smoke, do drugs. I will abstain from sexual immorality, and I will do all the things. I will do everything you ask of me. And went to sleep that night, and I woke up, and for more than 25 years, I've never gone back to those things. Not again did I smoke, did I drink, did I do drugs. I've abstained from sexual immorality. I maintained myself walking in the things of the Lord. Because the thing about it is, sometimes we want to come to the Lord, but we don't make a commitment. We think this is just a choice. It's not a choice. It's a decision that changes the rest of your life. It's a calling. Coming in and standing before the Lord, everything changes. And once we surrender ourselves, God begins to transform us. He begins to change us. So I just want to encourage you to never give up, to continue walking forth, to overcome the sins that might try to entangle you, and walk in freedom, walk in truth, in holiness, in righteousness, and be the voice, be a light, and be the salt of this world. Let Him take control of your life, and you will see the greatness and the things that God will do with you. God bless you, and thank you.